couple of boys suddenly realized that a man was beating his wife. But looking at the woman's miserable appearance, one of the boys still wanted to go up to the fight. Then he pushed the man away. 3 of his mates ran to help. The woman fell to her knees and begged the boys for help. The woman's husband seemed to have drunk a lot and made physical contact with them. But during the fight, the drunken man accidentally fell into a wooden boat on the sea. The boys watched as the drunken man passed out and realized he was in trouble. Meanwhile, the woman had already fled the scene and dialed the police. When the police arrived at the scene, the 4 18-year-old boys chose to run away. But while they were running away, one of the boys was hit by a car and knocked down on the side of the road. The boy who was in the accident was taken to the hospital. The other 3 boys were taken to the police station. At the police station, they claimed they were trying to help a woman who had been beaten. But the woman claimed that the 4 boys had killed her husband. The boys, who were 18 years old at the time, wondered why the woman didn't appreciate their help, but instead accused them of murder. And so the boys were wrongfully imprisoned. Just this morning, Jack and Carl rented a beat-up used car. The 2 of them went to the ballpark to pick up David from baseball practice. Then the 3 of them went to pick up Mike for a road trip because Mike was about to enlist in the army. So they wanted to get together again before he did. So the 4 of them set off on a road trip. The trip was to the next city by the sea. They've been best friends since childhood. Perhaps because they thought it would be hard to see each other again, they treasured this opportunity to travel together. After arriving at the coastal city, they sat together on the beach eating ice cream and looking at the scenery. Then they went shopping and played on the beach together. At night they went to a fried chicken restaurant for dinner. All 4 of them had a great time. They also drank a lot of wine while eating the fried chicken. After eating, they went back to the car. They were going to sleep in the car on the side of the road. Suddenly Jack asked Mike why he'd given up college to join the army. Mike's parents died when he was a kid. His grandmother, a junk collector, raised him alone. Grandma wanted to keep picking up scraps to put Mike through college. He didn't want to make her work any harder than she had to. Mike had already made up his mind, but he hesitated to tell his grandmother. Just as they were getting ready for bed, there was an argument in the car in front of them. They saw a man beating his wife, but they didn't have mobile phones and couldn't call the police. Jack, the most righteous of them all, rushed out. The next thing they knew, they were fighting with the man. When the police arrived, Mike was in a car accident while running away. And then the man who beat his wife died unexpectedly. They were arrested on suspicion of murder. According to the woman, he was molested by 4 boys. Her husband was beaten by a gang because he was protecting her. While the 3 Jacks were being questioned, Mike's grandmother arrived at the hospital. Mike is out of danger for the moment, but he was in a coma with a head injury. That night, the police began investigating the murder. But the police didn't have much room to investigate. There was no surveillance at the crime scene. There was no CCTV in Jack's rented car. Since the woman identified the murderer, the captain of the police department identified 4 people as the murderers. Because the woman is a local TV presenter, she had the backing of the TV station's head. Both the police chief and the captain wanted to do a favor to the TV station's leader. They also wanted the case to be closed as soon as possible. So they didn't bother to check if the woman was lying. And they didn't care if the 4 boys were the real killers. The next day, the parents of the 3 men were summoned to the police station. As soon as they met, an argument broke out and they blamed each other's children. The captain told them the case and thoughtfully reminded them that the most important thing now is to find out who the main culprit is. Although they don't know what happened last night, parents are convinced that their children are not the culprits. In a private conversation with their children, 3 parents asked their children not to admit that they had hit someone. It seems that in the adult world, the only way to survive is to protect oneself. They didn't want their children to have a criminal record or to go to jail. The 3 boys were torn and confused. They couldn't justify betraying their friends. That night, they still had to spend the night at the police station. Dinner was a meager diet of vegetables and rice. There was another criminal in Jack's room. Late at night, that criminal would sneak up on Jack. With a strange smile on his face, the criminal would say to Jack, "I'll get along with him when I go to the detention center." The 3 of them stayed up all night after their first encounter with the world of criminals. It was the first night they really thought about their future. They were still young and none of them wanted their lives to be ruined.